The Kansas City Chiefs emerge victorious in what may be a season-shattering win. We will get into that in just a moment, but we will lead this video off about the Chiefs beating the Chargers with the headlines, Low Power, Chargers fall to Chiefs in 27-point brownout. And, of course, rice cooked. Chiefs win game, lose, main dish. Now, there are some big ideas to talk about here, and then we will get into the minutiae of this thing. Like we do on a weekly basis here, this channel, we talk only about the Kansas City Chiefs, so if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more Chiefs content. We have to start here. Losing Rashee Rice hurts, and it's going to hurt more. According to Nick Jacobs, Rashee Rice played just 4 snaps of this game, and Skyy Moore still only played 13 and managed 1 drop. Mecole Hardman, despite the absence of Rashee Rice for nearly the entirety of the game, played only 10 snaps, meaning that almost all of the wide receiver play there was to be had was taken by Xavier Worthy with 45 snaps, and who played the most of any wide receiver, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who played 32 snaps in this game. There is going to be an adjustment period. Brett Veach has been very aggressive every step of the way this season, apparently trying as hard as he can without mortgaging the entire future to actually put a team on the field that is capable of winning a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. It seems that is very important to him. It seems that is very important to this team, so I imagine there will be a move made at the wide receiver, on the wide receiver front, and we will cover that here. There will, depending on when the move is made, because I fully expect there to be at least one move, maybe a contingency happening. We will cover the move, and if there is time before the move, we will speculate. But for now, I will only speculate about the ripple effect of this. I don't understand how the Chiefs can make only one move. And here's why. The Chiefs have lost 2 wide receivers. Hollywood Brown, that they never replaced, but I think was going to be their number 1 target in this offense, and Rashee Rice, who was ostensibly going to be the number 2 and assumed the role of number 1 wide receiver in this offense. They didn't just lose 2 wide receivers, they lost the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers, no matter how it is that you were looking at that position. Maybe you think that Rashee Rice was going to be the number 1 coming into the season, then probably you would have assumed that Hollywood Brown was number 2. Either way, number 1 and number 2 are gone. So you entered the season with 6 wide receivers because you had you lost Hollywood Brown before the season even started. I would say that among those 6 wide receivers, Skyy Moore was number 6. He was still getting meaningful snaps, not targets, because, well, we've seen what happens there, but snaps. It's good to have him on the field sometimes because he can be a very high-effort blocker. Not the number one trait you would look for in a wide receiver, I concede, but you have to have snaps eaten. It's interesting that we don't think of all of football the way that we think of pitching in baseball, right? You have to have innings eaten in baseball, so you have to have guys that can go out there and get 6 innings of decent baseball. You have to have wide receivers that can go out there and get snaps of decent football, even if those decent snaps are not targets. Now you've lost Rashee Rice, and Skyy Moore goes from being the number 7 guy to the number 6 guy to the number 5 guy. The number 5 guy gets targets. I believe that was Sky Moore's first target of the season. If not, it wasn't more than his third. And he dropped it. Having Sky Moore on your roster, I've no real problem with. Sky Moore being your number 4 wide receiver, if anybody jams their thumb, is a telling proposition that is terrifying for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you basically have to bury Sky Moore on the depth chart, which means the Chiefs might trade for someone, right? But you're basically only giving up draft picks in a trade. Who else are you going to trade? I have been of the opinion that Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a tradable asset, especially at this point. You are down Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, and Rashee Rice. If Patrick Mahomes goes down, there goes the Chiefs, right? So at this point, having a backup quarterback that's worth anything is just a blight on the roster. Trade him and get someone, right? But other than that, who are you trading? Who are you going to trade for something? So you're mortgaging the future with your draft picks in order to get a guy for now. I'm not against it, but you just have to be sober to the reality. But even after that, do you want Sky Moore to be that high on your depth chart? So probably I would be a proponent of signing Hunter Renfrow off of his couch. I kind of would just like to see if there's anything left in the tank. Here's another factor. The Chiefs can't go make any great big moves without having to move someone else's money on their roster to the future. They would have to tinker with someone's contract. They only have $4.8, I think, million under the cap. They're in a rough... Look, they left themselves money. Just imagine how things would be if they had gone and signed everybody. They had brought in some other defensive tackle. We almost all wanted them to. They went and they signed some veteran offensive tackle. We almost all wanted them to. I would have been all right with them bringing in a veteran presence at offensive tackle. $1.5 million, somebody. That's chump change. Well, now you're looking at $2 million to sign a wide receiver, to trade for a wide receiver. So it's rough. This is a rough predicament for the in which the Chiefs find themselves. So don't hate me. And I'm thinking about putting this in a video later. One move that doesn't seem like it would make sense, but it would make sense, but it's not related to wide receiver, but it will be related to wide receiver. Cutting Carson Steele. He's going to pass through waivers, and you're going to be able to sign him to your practice squad. But, you're probably not giving him meaningful carries for at least a while because he's got a fumbling problem. 2, you're going to be able to find someone on the streets that has more experience than Carson Steele. The Chiefs right now need wide receiver threats at running back. The Chiefs right now need guys with experience at running back because they're going to be so decimated at the wide receiver position, they're going to need to leech help from the running back position. It's not a popular move, I understand, but if you were to sign in the place... There's the big idea of, is Clyde coming back? Or I'm not going to put any eggs in that basket. We pretend he does. Yippee-ki-yay. What was he good for before? Right? So, doesn't matter if Clyde comes back or not, in my opinion. Having a guy that is just stealth enough to catch passes out of the backfield might be what it takes to help Mahomes. right? We've got that with Kareem Hunt a little bit. We've got that with Samaje Perine a little bit. I don't know that Carson Steele offers all that much upside at that position at this time for what this team needs. Losing all these playmakers is wrecking the odds for the Chiefs. Just is. Not pretty. Kelce re-emerges. Kelce looked good on Sunday. It's hard to tell exactly where that came from and where it went to begin with, but he did look good. That is very reassuring. Can the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl with 90% Kelce at 90% of what he has been, and Xavier Worthy being explosive? Yes, I think they can, and we're going to get to Xavier Worthy in a moment here. Number 3, I'm through with the Jawaan Taylor experiment. I'm done. I don't care anymore. Put Kingsley in at left tackle, put Wanye at right tackle, and have Jawaan Taylor play fullback. It doesn't matter to me. I am done. I stuck up for that guy. I understand the signing. I understand what was going on there, especially when you're looking at where the Chiefs were probably going to end up drafting for almost the entirety of Brett Veach's and Andy Reid's and Patrick Mahomes' stay here in Kansas City. Very late in the draft, hard to find tackles at those places. I get it. But not anymore. I don't even have the words to express why. I don't even have I don't have the verbiage to cover it. Kareem Hunt is 80% of what he used to be. And that might be enough. Kareem Hunt is this is something I had forgotten about Kareem Hunt. And I'm not going to use the word, but there's going to be pointing towards cursing here in a moment. So if you are super sensitive, please forgive me. Kareem Hunt, at the end of his runs, I had forgotten about the extra FU. He ends every one of his runs with, oh yeah, but FU. That's how he does it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He'll be completely stood up and then dive bomb his helmet into somebody's chest. Why? Because he's falling forward for that yard. And FU for thinking he's not. That is one, I had forgotten that about Kareem Hunt. He is, looking at him now, it's almost strange how precisely he fits between Isaiah Pacheco and Carson Steele. He's like if you had Carson Steele as one setting and Isaiah Pacheco as another setting, he's almost right directly between the two, 50% of each. So that might be enough of what this offense needs in order to stay mobile, to continue to gain first downs. That might be, and so here's the thing. This isn't 2018. This isn't 2017. He is older. This was his first week in the offense. Is he going to be able to recover? That is the big question. Will the nicks and bruises that will have obviously accrued during this Sunday's competition stay on him for next week's? Will they stay with him after the bye? Those are the questions that are going to be difficult to answer until we actually have evidence for them on Kareem Hunt. Xavier Worthy caught a 56-yard touchdown while double covered and fighting through obvious pass interference. He was being tackled and his hand was being held as the ball arrived. Did not matter. Didn't matter. Xavier, those are the plays we never got from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. This year's offense right now, you can almost look at it as last year's offense without Rashee Rice but MVS is functional. Because that's kind of the role that we have for Xavier Worthy. Xavier or Xavier? I can never get this right. I will never get this right. I vow to never get this correct. But this offense, without Rashee Rice, but with a functional... So just for clarity's sake, I should have said this beforehand. At the recording of this video, we do not have word yet on Rashee Rice's injury. I am assuming that this is a season-ending ACL injury. I am assuming that. This offense being like last year's offense without Rashee Rice, but with a functional MVS, that works maybe. Last year's offense without a functional MVS, but with Rashee Rice, won the Super Bowl. It's going to take them time to hammer things out. It's going to take them time to figure out what to do with a player here and a player there. But you have Travis Kelce for the medium range stuff in the middle of the field. You have Xavier Worthy for the very, very deep 56-yard in the air passing touchdowns. You have Kareem Hunt, who's physical in the running game. That might be enough. If Xavier Worthy can find the consistency within him, that could be enough. On this Sunday, he had 4 targets, 3 receptions, 73 yards for a 24.3 yard average and a touchdown. On the season, he is looking all right. On the season, if I can pull this up real quick, I was not planning on talking about this. Oh, come on. Why isn't this the first thing that pops up? 9 receptions, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. 9 receptions is tied for 108th in the NFL. Not very high. 154 yards is tied for 63rd in the NFL. Way better than 108th. 2 receiving touchdowns is tied for 13th in the NFL. And a 17.1 yard average is just 21st overall. Those aren't bad numbers. Through the first 4 games of his entire career, those are not bad numbers. I will get into the comparison between the first 4 games of his career and the first 4 games of Rashee Rice's career a little bit later this week. But decent stuff coming from Xavier Worthy so far this season. And the number 6 big idea, the Chargers kicked a field goal with 3:53 left in the first quarter and never scored again. The Chargers scored their final point with nearly 4 minutes left in the first quarter. So it's easy to say, well, the Chiefs could very easily be 0-4. Were they ever really in danger of losing this one? Were any of the other games out of hand? I'm not going to do that one again. I've done that one every week this season. Offensive MVP for this game was Travis Kelce, in my opinion. Could have very easily gone to Xavier Worthy, but 7 receptions, 89 yards, and a 12.7 yard average for Travis Kelce, coming back to relevance for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a huge revelation for the Chiefs moving forward. Having Travis Kelce, it's better than not having Travis Kelce. But it gives Mahomes a trusted target. It gives him someone that he can count on. So, look, Kelce's going to have focus drops. His whole career he has. But knowing that that security blanket is there for Mahomes means that I don't think the wheels will completely fall off of this offense. Defensive MVP, I'm just going to give it Jalen Watson. Look, Shamari Connor is the best safety on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs right now, especially as Jaden Hicks is still not playing. I don't know what it is that Brian Cook is doing in the back of the end zone with wide receivers, but he might be giving them cooties. That's not defense. You're not playing defense, Brian. I don't know what those faces you are making at Ladd McConkey is. I don't know what you're doing there. It's not playing defense. Pardon me. And Justin Reed, I think, still had a subpar game. So Shamari Connor, in my opinion, is the best safety the Kansas City Chiefs have on the field right now. Justin Reed might be tradable. But Jalen Watson, in my opinion, really came through in this game. He had, I believe, at least 2 PBUs. He looked good the entire day. I don't think he was on the receiving end of any of the Ladd McConkey burns, but old McClunky got out there and got one over on some people. Pardon me, this got sick and I'm not getting through it. But anyway, Jalen Watson emerging for the Chiefs was huge. 3 tackles, 2 solo. And the game ball, in my opinion, goes to Chris Jones. 4 tackles, 3 solo, 2 sacks. And he was just disruptive all day long. And that's exactly what this team needed. That is exactly what this team needed. That's what this team had to have. And they got it from Chris Jones. Chris Jones continues to produce for this team. And finally, the Mahomes monologue. I'm not going to do it. Not again. I've been coming on here and saying the whole "and it didn't matter" routine for 3 weeks. Now, mind you, this week, ironically, doesn't matter. Obviously. Another win. He doesn't look right. He doesn't look sharp. He doesn't look on time. He looks a step behind. It's as if he's electing to play these games with a hangover. That's how it looks some of the time here. Absolutely out of whack. In the real trepidation, I understand this despite the fact that I come on and say the whole "it didn't matter" shtick. The real trepidation is not that he's not going to be good enough to beat the Chargers. It's that Mahomes this season doesn't look good enough to win the Super Bowl. The longest air yards touchdown of his career, by the way. But he throws another wild interception and then murks his own wide receiver 1 on the return. Kelsey was back, though. Luckily, Sky Moore responded by immediately dropping a pass. Everyone else in the division is 2-2, by the way. So, a 2-game lead on the Broncos, a 2-game lead on the Raiders, and now a 2.5 technical lead on the Chargers. Did you know the Chiefs are the last undefeated team in the AFC? That's the 1 seed. A quarter of the way through the season. That's not nothing. Mahomes and this offense, though, just terrible. Terrible. Doesn't make you feel great. Last year at this time, the Chiefs were 3-1. Real contenders, who had lost to the Lions and scored 21 points, 17 points, and 23 points outside of a 41-point explosion over the Bears. The Chiefs have not played a team the ilk of the Bears this year. In 2022, they were also 3-1, which included the now infamous Chris Jones loses the Colts game. It's almost like I'd feel a whole lot better about this season right now if the Chiefs had a loss on the record to vindicate my own concerns and complaints. If only Mahomes could get that done. That's the rest of the story. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, I don't cough all the time, but just today. So consider hitting the subscribe button if you do not find yourself here on the regular, because the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about. If you like what I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And I hope to have you back for the next one.